Okay, so before we get into 3D, I wanted to kind of show a quick little draw over that I did in Photoshop that is illustrating what I'm seeing as the center line of the character. This is where I'm imagining the center line is falling on this guy. And I've also placed the perspective plane and how I'm seeing that where he's standing, the imaginary plane he's standing on, and some other connection points like the arms and stuff, but um, that's what I'm imagining whenever I'm laying down this geometry that I'm going to be laying down. So we'll go into Modo, and I'm going to go ahead and create a cylinder, and go ahead and make this about 16 sides. I don't want it to get too heavy right off the bat. Just want to go in and I want this geometry, I say it's proxy geometry, but really it's a little bit more than that. It is geometry that I'm going to want to use, but I don't want it to be so heavy that it's unmanageable when I'm doing this initial blocking pass. And so I just go in, and I also want to go in and add a little bit of color to what I'm seeing as the center line, just to illustrate this point. So keeping this artwork in mind with this center line, when I'm in Modo, I'm going to go in and just rotate that around, get that to where that center line is falling. That feels pretty good. And then I'm going to add another cut to this cylinder. And so I have the neck, and this is typical of the way that I work, is I'll create a piece that represents the top portion, a cut that represents the middle, and then the final piece. So for example, on the arm, when I'm going to make a cylinder for this, because that's what that shape is, and then and this applies to the legs, the fingers. I'll just create that cylinder and I'll line it up to the torso that we're about to build, and then I'll just have a connection point for the shoulder, a connection point for the elbow, and then a connection point for the wrist. And on the leg it'll be the hip, the knee, and the ankle. And that's usually how I approach the limbs, because that allows me the most flexibility whenever I'm initially blocking in the body. I don't want to have to fight too much with the geo at this point. I'm just trying to get the silhouette, the pose, all that down, and then once I feel like those are in a good place, then I want to start worrying about details. So again, this goes back to the beginning of, we just get it roughed in first and then refine that. So I got the cylinder in there. So one of the things that I'm kind of noticing with this guy that'll at some point may become an issue is just his balance is a little off. And what I mean by that is that it seems like his hips are out in front of his neck, and so we're going to have to probably adjust that, because and that means that it may not overlay perfectly on the drawing. But if we don't do that, then people are going to feel that. Whenever they look at the final model, it's going to bump them. They're going to say, it looks really cool, but it feels like he's about to tip over. He's going to fall over backwards. And you don't want to cloud the viewer's perception of the final piece with something like that, because they may not be able to put into words what it is that's bothering them about the model. They're just going to feel it. It's going to feel like, man, that guy's about to tip over. It's going to make them uncomfortable, and it's going to make them respond negatively. So we're probably going to have to adjust the weight and get it fixed, but I don't think that's going to affect the model too much. So I have the body added in there now, and I'm going to have to move it up. This is what I was trying to avoid earlier, that whole pass through the image thing. So I'm going to get that moved up to 10 meters because I know that's how far back I moved the image. And then look at this torso, and because I didn't, so these pieces here are a little off, so I'm going to pull those forward just a little bit, and maybe even a little bit more. See, that color helped illustrate that before that bottom half was pushed back a little too much, and we want to fix that. And the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and bridge between these sets of edges and create the crotch. Just add that cut, go back to the front, drag this down, and just bring that up a little bit. Look at that there, it's a little too low. Get that here, and then add a few more cuts. Get that moving down. And then this area could be a little bit bigger. Scale that up some. Go ahead and slide this down and really get that bulging belly that he has. I'm just going to go up here and move that out just a little bit. And everybody works differently, and that's kind of one of the things that I'm hoping to learn from doing these videos is to see how other people approach this process. This is how I usually approach blocking in everything, but somebody else may have a completely different method, and I'm kind of curious to see what those are. So we've got that torso blocked in now, and fill in the belly, and so we will move on to the next piece.